He started selling gourmet burgers from an Airstream trailer on the streets of Seattle 5 years ago. Then, Martha Stewart and others discovered the chef's signature bacon jam. Today, Josh Henderson is building a comfort food empire right here in the Pacific Northwest, thanks in part to his effective use of social media. What's the secret recipe to his success? And what's the missing ingredient that'll propel him to the top of the food chain? I'm Hanson Hossein. Welcome to 4 Peaks. So Josh Henderson of Skillet Street Food fame, welcome to 4 Peaks.
Thanks for having me.
So I've been reading your book, which is terrific, your cookbook, Skillet. And in the preface you say, I love the idea of underpromising and over-delivering. Is that kind of your ethic when it comes to putting this empire together?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a main crux of how we would like to deliver things down the road and currently now. I mean, when you go to a trailer, you don't expect to get, at least initially, you didn't expect to get what you got at Skillet, and that was sort of what we based everything on. And I feel like, you know, when people expect something a certain level, that's a harder place to deliver from consistently. And if they come in kind of with, I wouldn't say low expectations, but expecting, you know, I guess less in a sense, and then you blow them away, it's an easier place to go from.
That's exactly what you did with Skillet. You kind of set the bar low by saying, I'm going to do street food. In fact, I'm just controlling some video here with my iPad. If we looked at this screen, this is just some video from the trailer.
There's the deuce.
It looks like a greasy spoon, but what's going on here?
Yeah, these guys are just rocking out some hamburgers and
What's so great about, what's so over-delivering about a hamburger?
Well, I think it's just the ingredients that we use and the preparation, I guess, and technique as well. I think that we focus a lot on using good ingredients and not messing around with them too much and doing them well. And that's, you know, I guess the ethos of kind of where we go from.
So some say, I mean, street food obviously right now is a craze across America, and some say you actually helped pioneer this. Now, you know, I used to live in New York. You could buy a hot dog or curry or whatever on the streets of New York for a long time. What's different about what you helped pioneer?
Well, I would say that the previous kind of to 2007, a lot of street food was about the cart. It wasn't necessarily about a chef, and the food wasn't probably as prominent from a technique and ingredient standpoint that it is now. And on top of that, now street food carts are brands. You know, you didn't really have a brand, not a lot of them at least, around the country. And so I think that was a main sort of driver for what we did. And we obviously were here at a chef focusing on the food, and then you have this kind of iconic Airstream trailer that really wasn't planned. It just happened to be that way, but that helped for sure.
And that's really the magic of what's happened here, is that you got this great, obviously, conveyance of food to all parts of Seattle, but you've actually built a brand at the same time around Skillet itself. What do you think the brand represents to the person who knows you now?
Yeah, I was thinking brand pretty early on with Skillet, and I would say that word, and I remember in a couple of reviews, I'd said it in an interview, and people commented on it saying, you're not a brand, you're just a street food cart. I was thinking to myself, what are you talking about? You have no idea. Like, all the elements of what we are, I think, is exactly what a brand should be. It is. You know, I think anything, a camera could be a brand. You know, it doesn't matter.
So what epitomizes your brand then?
Well, I would say that, you know, I'd say it's honest food in kind of an unpretentious way, and with hopefully great design around it. That's, you know, those three elements, you know, is something that I hope to focus on, not only with the diner, but also all the other spaces that we do around the city.
So as a pioneer of street food, why didn't you just stick with that? Now, I know you got into a little hot water at the outset with the city of Seattle and sanitation and all that, but you've overcame that. It sounded like it was a huge success right off the bat. Why don't you just continue with that part of the empire? Why are you going into sort of more traditional restaurants?
Well, street food's hard, really, really hard, harder than a restaurant. And there's a ceiling. I mean, you can only hit a certain amount of revenue, most likely, unless you live in LA or in New York. And you're never going to be able to even touch the revenue you could do in a restaurant. And I felt like we needed to have a set spot that people could find us. And brick and mortar is really the only way to do that. And initially, when we did street food, I was thinking, we got to go to all of our customers. You know, that's an advantage. But it's also a disadvantage, because you're going away from those customers as well, you know, the next day you leave.
But they were able to find you because you were using some innovative tools like Google Maps and Twitter. I understand. Is that how you did it?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was all done with my BlackBerry on email, and this was before Facebook became kind of popular. Facebook happened, and so we started using that, and then Twitter. And I was like, I have no desire to. I was like, I don't have the time to do one more thing, and I was like, this is not going to work, this Twitter thing. And of course, it did. And but I didn't really do a lot of Twitter. All I did is I linked Facebook and Twitter together. So then all I had to do was just one time is I'd just go on Facebook, and then it would just pop over to Twitter and populate that.
Do you think you would have met with the same initial success using these same techniques, building this brand, using these technologies, had you, say, been in LA or Dallas?
Do you think we would have been as successful in LA?
I mean, do you think is there something specific to the way people congregate in Seattle, people use technology, people are more open to this kind of food, or could this have happened anywhere else in the country?
I think it would have happened anywhere else, because I think at the time it was happening other places very similarly in random cities. So Austin, LA, New York, all had this, same, one or two trucks. There's about 4 or 5 trucks in 2007 that sort of started, and really sort of started utilizing those methods. And so I think it would have happened anywhere. Because if you have a good product that you're selling that people are blown away by, that's ultimately what's the driver. The social media and all that's just a medium to get it out to them.
So what's changed now that you actually have full-fledged restaurants in Capitol Hill, the Armory in Seattle Center, you're building other places? What's going on there? Is that any different from what you've done in the trailer?
For sure. I mean, the diner is an amazing success for us. That's a game changer. It redefined kind of who we were from a brand. And so what's changed really is just the amount of staff we have, and our days look different, just in the sense of what we do each day from an owner, a founder, a manager, partner aspect. And it's different. Life is so much different than it was 2 years ago, in so many different ways.
But the trailer endures as well. You're still doing street food. But I think you've withdrawn from that for a little bit, right? Like you're more about the restaurants now and less.
Yeah, I definitely am taking more of a 20,000-foot view on things. But the trailer is always going to be around. I always joke that if the trailer's gone, it means we've jumped the shark. And it's just I think it's so crucial to our DNA that we keep that around, as battered and as bruised as it gets. We need to have it. And plus, on the flip side, it's from a business standpoint, it works. It's just not going to ever be a $5 million restaurant. It's always going to be just a street food trailer. So
that's great. Well, I think what I want to do is talk a bit more about where you're headed and some of the challenges you're facing. So when we return with Josh Henderson, we'll ask him what keeps him up at night. We'll be right back. We're back with Josh Henderson from Skillet Street Food. Josh, so you pulled back from operations of the trailer, which continues to do quite well, so there's still street food. Your new project is building a whiskey and cheeseburger bar or tavern up in Woodinville?
Yeah, I'm partnering with a distillery in Woodinville, and we're going to be doing a kind of a higher-end tavern, family-friendly tavern that will be...
Kids can go to the tavern?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, out there, you better have places for strollers to park, otherwise you're going to be meeting with riots probably. So we definitely are going to be a family-friendly place, a great place to have brunch, but also a place that maybe, part of the places guys can sidle up to the bar and have a whiskey and a cheeseburger or something. So,
that's great.
Yeah, I haven't really, to be honest, I have that image in my mind of what it's supposed to be, but specifically, I've been wrestling with the menu the last couple of weeks. I haven't really got that far on it, so I'm just still working through it, but I have the concept in my mind.
So, I mean, if you look at a narrative arc for like somebody who's writing like The Lord of the Rings or something, you always have the characters face that first challenge and they overcome it and they're feeling pretty good, but there's still that really big quest just down the road. And in your situation, you've overcome that first challenge, you've established the brand, you're doing pretty well with Bacon Jam, with the street food, with these new restaurants. What's the big looming challenge on the horizon that keeps you up at night right now?
I would say probably, and I don't really look at it as a challenge, I look at it as more like my next sort of step or next opportunity, is really to shift my focus from being somebody who works every day in the trailer to somebody who's now trying to really kind of build a larger organization and cultivate people. My job is probably 100% finding the right people, and I really take pride because I always think back to I look at my batting average right now, and as far as people that we have in the organization that I've personally picked or found, and I those are kind of like badges for me. I don't often talk about it, but I look at all these people that are succeeding, and I feel very proud of the fact that I found you, and so I want to continue that.
Why do people matter so much to you? What are you looking for that will lead to your success?
Well, every job is so different. So, but I think that ultimately, people who want to be a part of something, who get who we are, and who what I'm trying to create, and who are willing to kind of take ownership of something, in a sense, and really take the ball and run with it. I would hope to create an organization that creates a fair amount of autonomy for somebody coming in. I'm not. There's certain obviously standards that and key elements to any brand or organization that really have to be the core principles. But beyond that, I really think that there needs to be a lot of freedom for somebody, because nobody works well in an environment with somebody over their shoulder. So
how do you feel about being the guy who put together all these incredible menus, who was actually there working out of the trailer, the Airstream trailer at the outset, hands-on, sweating, to being more of the guy behind the desk or the administrator, obviously still the visionary? Is that a tough transition to make?
It is in a little bit. It's been something that it doesn't feel tough now, because I've kind of gone through the emotional aspect of it the last year. I've been really, the last 6 months has been an interesting time, just in the sense of sort of accepting the role that I see in front of me, and so I would say that it's not so much tough now, but it took about 6 months, because you feel the pangs of like still wanting to be known as something else in a way.
Can you still cook?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll always be a cook. That's what I always, when people ask what I do, I always say I'm a cook, just because that's, to me, the core, of who I am and what hopefully we portray.
You're just cooking differently now. You're assembling ingredients in a different way. The ingredients seem to be people and vision and some other way of looking at the world. And this will this distinguish you from all the other competitors and brands out there, like a Tom Douglas or the Ethan Stoll?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about their brands, but I definitely, we all are very aware, I think, of everybody in the community, and so I admire them greatly, but at the same time, I look forward to succeeding.
Well, we're going to try to help you with some of that success when we come back. So after the break, we'll help extend Josh Henderson's reach. Josh Henderson of Skillet Street Food. Let's see if we can apply a little Four Peaks therapy to your challenge. So you mentioned that you've made this transition from being the guy, the chef, the visionary of the menus, to somebody who's actually got to sort of bring the people together, the kind of staff and talent that you need to run this growing empire of yours. Obviously, what matters most is for these people to really represent your vision and who you are. Mm-hmm. So when you do meet with prospects, can you actually sort of summarize who you are? What's your overall narrative that you want them to understand and embrace and actually sort of to exemplify as they're out there in the community?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing is when you're meeting with somebody is truth, authenticity, and no BS. Make sure that somebody knows who I am and believes who I am, and doesn't sense that there's some phoniness in there. And I think that's the most important thing. Just be real, and let somebody kind of talk and listen. And that's how I usually approach when I'm meeting with somebody, is just to really kind of lay the groundwork in a general sense about what we're doing. And obviously I talk about projects that we have going on, and I like to generate excitement. I tend to kind of like paint a picture that things are moving fast and going big, and that generally helps. But that's about all the bells and whistles I do. And then I tend to kind of lay out the groundwork for the kind of culture that I want to create, and that tends to resonate with people, just because I think that I really try and be honest about it.
Do you believe that authenticity that you're talking about, that honesty, and I think even that sort of under-promising, over-delivering that comes through in your food and in your brand generally, is that overtly visible in everything that represents you and Skillet out there, from brick and mortar restaurant to the Airstream trailer?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think that like if a customer came to our restaurant, would they sense that? I would hope they'd sense it from the service that they get, that it's not pretentious, that it's just comfortable. And but yeah, I don't know if that's something that someone would immediately get, and that's that's probably for somebody else to answer, since I'm so inside. I wouldn't know.
Well, and some of the magic that you were able to sort of reach this pinnacle success so early is that you were using these technologies to actually communicate directly to customers when you were showing up in a particular neighborhood. And you've obviously had to pull back a little bit from that as you grow. And so, although everybody knows you're in charge, you don't necessarily have your fingers all over that touch anymore. No. So, is there any other way that you could keep that touch going, that people still feel like, the star of the show, of the broad, we're not seeing the understudy here. We still have Josh in control, and he's still being represented through everything he does. Can you even in the marketing and communication, do you think?
Totally. It's all about voice. It's all about continuing how you say what you're saying. That it doesn't. We work pretty hard at making sure that voice stays the same, and communicate. I remember telling our marketing person that even like one word or two word, replace that with this, in the very beginning when we're kind of trying to figure it all out. And that's the big thing, it's just the voice. But we've also really tried to, in the next, this next sort of phase of Skillet is sort of not pushing me to the side, but sort of, elevating a lot of our crew to sort of highlight them and talk about.
So make it more inclusive, make them feel part of the brand as well. And
exactly.
That's really interesting. It's much more cohesive in your approach. So it's not all dependent on you and your shoulders on that.
Yeah, certainly not. It's more just also about giving them the opportunity to talk and have a voice as well that people see. Because the thing about Facebook and Twitter that I felt from the beginning is that we needed to be very transparent in our communication, because most companies, I feel, are very disingenuous, and you don't really know what's going on behind the curtain, and they put on this good front. And I think people just like to hear what's going on. They love the details of like all the the nitty-gritty stuff.
So are you still providing that transparency?
I think we do. Yeah, I think, and as you get bigger, you obviously there's some things you can't be as transparent about, but I think that's so crucial. Just as I want to be transparent with a potential crew member, I think that we need to be transparent with our customers as well.
Well, I would say, from what I've heard, that transparency, that honesty, that authenticity, I think if you can keep that up, that's exactly what's going to inspire people to want to be part of your team. So I think you're definitely on the right track in terms of doing that. It's obviously a challenge as this economy continues to get better, that you're going to have competition for those really key people. But I think you stick to your guns on that. That's exactly what we tell our students in our program as well, to get that credible, authentic story out there, and people will come along to it. So well done. So we'll be right back as Skillet's Josh Henderson tries to teach me a thing or two.
We're going to work with it. We're going to work with that.
From jet travel to software to medicine, this place has given the world some big ideas. A lot of that has to do with this place. Over the past 150 years, the University of Washington has fostered one of the most creative cultures in history. And today, it's where a new generation of leaders, thinkers, and doers are changing the world again. If you have talent, curiosity, and desire, discover what's next.
Four Peaks is made possible by generous support from Weber Shandwick.
Well, we're here with Josh Henderson from Skillet at Skillet in the Armory. He's left behind the Airstream trailer, and he's got his brick and mortar restaurant right here in Seattle Center. And Josh has promised to show me how to make something. Hopefully it's not too complicated. How complicated is it, Josh?
Really complicated.
Okay, what is it?
So we got a grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich with bananas.
That's perfect for me.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to start with brioche, slices of brioche, thick cut. We put a little bit of clarified butter down, and the bread's from Macrina, so it's a local bread. So once we get both sides toasted, which is about a minute or so on each side, then we're going to go ahead and this is where it gets really complicated. We're going to put peanut butter on one side and jelly on the other, then bananas, and then we'll put them together.
Is it certain quantities of peanut butter and jelly?
I'd say whatever you think the bread can handle.
Okay, I like that. My daughter would appreciate that too. As much as the bread will bear.
I'd say that's probably good right there.
I'm going to use that for my students from now on. As much as the bread will bear.
All right.
Okay.
Go in there. We'll give it a little bit of a you want to get every corner. Let's go ahead and do the bananas on there as well.
Our associate producer, Ashley Rose, is about to turn 25, and I think this is her favorite Skillet dish, so I'm not quite sure what that says.
Well, we'll see if it lives up to her expectations. Okay, so now we're at the point we can do if you want to do the peanut butter.
Demushing?
Yep, so just don't tear the bread. That's all I ask. All right.
Yeah, Macrina would have my high. Okay. Oh!
See?
It's exactly what you asked me not to do.
I did, yeah.
This is harder than I thought.
There was one standard we had here, and that's okay. We're just gonna work with it.
We'll
give that half to you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna go there.
I'm not getting a job here anytime soon. Can't even make peanut butter and jelly.
Okay. So go there. That back in there. Go ahead. And this sandwich has some heft to it for sure. All right.
And the diagonal cut actually makes it taste better, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to double check.
And there you go. There's your
awesome
grilled PB&J.
Well, I'm going to take one more bite of this, and I'm going to throw you back to the studio. Thank you, Josh Henderson of Skillet Street Food. I actually can't wait to check out every one of your locations, and I hope you continue to grow. We invite you all to extend your reach by connecting with us at 4peaks.org. I'm Hanson Hussein. Production of 4 Peaks would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors.